I've played a lot of tabletop RPGs. If you watch this channel for any length of time, you'll see that I've talked about them a lot. Most recently, Mythic Bastionland, and I love playing tabletop games. From board games, just normal, to RPGs, they all are super fun to me. And each time you play one, you learn something new or see a new system you haven't seen before, or see the perfection of one you've always enjoyed. And so with that, you get these opinions on, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you took the health system from that game and this from that game and put them together so the trading and economy matches with this fighting and war game. Super cool. But then you realize that merging those together makes a whole crazy game that would need its own playtesting. Well, I want to talk about my dream D&D system, and I'll try to be brief on some of the main topics so that I don't drag this out. Hopefully, if I'm doing it right, I keep this video around 10 minutes, and we can talk about what I think would make my perfect D&D system. Have my handy dandy notes app here in order to help me with this. So I'll keep it brief on all these. Starting at a minute, we are talking about failure takes you toward progression. I think this is a super simple idea that if you are a prodigy violinist, you don't really get much better. Like you're already 9 out of 10 and then you push to 10 out of 10. There's less room for growth. If you could always, like you just naturally could pick a lock, then you don't get better at picking locks. You just pick more locks and do it. I imagine there's this margin where you're getting better, but it's almost invisible because everyone around you can't do it at all, and to just pick one is an accomplishment. So I think anything that you fail, then you get some sort of currency to spend on advancing points that you failed in. So it's like I failed 3 times in lockpicking. I can now add a +1 on my lockpicking because I failed. I think there's a weird conception that because you played video games, success is the way you get better. Success is not the way you get better. Try any hobby and tell me how many times you succeed versus how many times you fail and which one made you better. I think it's crazy to think that the success of the task is not the reward. If you lockpick the chest and you open it, you get the treasure. Boom. If you didn't, guess what? You can get the next one. All right. The next one we're looking at is that HP and things raised by taking damage over time. I just think Kenshi is such an amazing game because it brings the heroic arc into a gameplay mechanic where you're only going to get stronger by eating shit for a long time. So if you want to get stronger, you're going to have to get into a fight and you're going to have to lose. There's all this idea of like, I see people in those crazy classes where it's like a karate guy. He's like, I can dodge 8 knives. And he's like, see how you can't hit me? How you can't hit me? And I'm sure if reality met him with a knife, then he would not do well at all. Like when you train in a dojo or in some place, I feel that it doesn't give you the experience of the real thing. It can give you better than somebody who just is off the street, never done anything, but there's something valuable, more valuable about taking real danger that will make you stronger. And I think that's how you should grow as a character, is not from a magical moment. It's from the damage and things you took, which it promotes you wanting to go out and be adventurous, because if you don't take that leap, you won't hurt your leg. And if you don't hurt your leg, how is it going to repair itself and get stronger? It's that failure mentality applied to health. I want a classless system. I think that games that pigeonhole you into a class are amazing and fun, and playing archetypes is amazing. What I also really enjoy is finding out what we're going to be along the road. We all just know we're a human, a dwarf, a lizard, and whatever. What are we going to be good at? I don't know. I kind of rolled good into my body stat, so I might be more physical, but I happen to find a spell book, and now I want to get into that. So I think that you get to pick your abilities and dip in and like touch other ones. I think multi-classing is a big fun part of what makes like D&D Baldur's Gate so fun, but actual D&D, I don't know many people who multi-class because it's just such a step back to take one of a lower skill. What if you could just complete the prerequisite and get the stronger skill of a later one? Something like that. I don't know exactly how it would work, but I think it's an interesting idea. I also have this idea that I don't want you to suddenly learn a skill. No random last fight you couldn't fireball and this time you can fireball. It doesn't make sense to me that between one short rest, maybe not even a short rest, you leveled up during the fight because XP gain and however it works, and now you can fireball. I think that's annoying and not very narratively satisfying. I would rather be when you level up, you get a floating skill point that can be applied to a skill once you've completed the prerequisite. So you want to be a necromancer? Good. You have to kill someone with magic and watch them die in your hands. Or maybe it's just watch someone die in your hands, and now you have access to take a skill point in the first like 5 skills of necromancy. What's the next skill? It involves needing necromancy. You need to bring back to life someone you loved. Whoa, that's interesting. I just think for fun's sake, whoa to my own thing, that's cool. And that you need to do things. And it's like, now that you've brought back someone you love, you have the ability to cast false life. or any of these level 2 necromantic spells because you did the thing. And I like the idea that it could also be blind to the players and only the DM knows these triggers and they're planting these events and then tempting you with, do you think this is what you want to do? You've spoken to this seer for an hour. You've completed a prerequisite. Would you like to glean into the ability and possibly unlock it? You know, they have a floating skill point. Why not ask them to use it? I want triggered abilities. I think of a lot of combat like Commander. If you're playing Commander, the Magic the Gathering format, 3 rounds can be an hour if you're playing with the certain people. And triggered abilities allow you to do things during anyone's turn. And I think day one, no matter who you are, what you're playing, you should have triggered abilities. And I think there shouldn't really be a limit to how many times it triggers, as long as the trigger is specific enough to not cause an every time thing. And if it is, then I think there's a fun game of can you keep up with your triggers? No late triggers. You know, Judge's Towers rule, which is the idea that if you miss one, you lose the game. But I think that's just more fun. I think it'd be better if almost every other round you get to do something during someone else's turn, as long as it's additive to their turn. So it's like, triggered, you can do 2 more damage if you'd like, or you can knock them prone. But you give it to the player who's going, but you feel the satisfaction of being like, maybe it's 3 modes and you get to pick one, and that's how it works. And you're like, ooh, triggered ability this, triggered ability that. I think it's super fun to do that. So think stacks pieces if you are an MTG player. I want a crafting system. Honestly, I haven't worked on that one very much, but we all know those can be wildly particular, from mahogany to teak wood, making a difference in the craft, to 1 wood item, 1 iron item, make item good. Crazy. So I just want to come up with some ways to maybe do a simple crafting system where they can look at things and hopefully logically piece it out, where they don't have to worry too hard about how does it work. I would think some system where, like, if you kill Displacer Beast and you take the tentacle from Displacer Beast, then you could say, hey, when you craft this item, you may use the Displacer Beast as part of this, however flavor-wise you wish, but in doing so, you get to take a lightened version of one Displacer Beast ability, whichever one you think fits most thematically and the DM agrees, you may apply it to this item. Now you have that illusory look when you equip yourself to it, or however it works. I just think the crafting's cool. Some friends had some things. They wanted a taming system, so I'll probably include something basic with that. My friend Jared wanted a weapons that need to be saved from. So like a greatsword swinging is more of your problem than the swinger's problem to hit. It's more the onus is on you to avoid it than it is on them to hit you. And I like that idea that there'll be some way to check if their dexterity isn't higher than your like training, whatever we want to call it, then you just hit them. It's no roll from them. I'd rather just be no like defending roll. If they dodge, if they have a stat to dodge, then maybe they will. But otherwise, you roll, you hit. I'm always in the plan of make less rolls if we can, unless the players are doing it for fun. So I would roll to hit the players, so the players would get to roll against me, but everything's skewed towards them. They're the heroes. They're the ones having fun. And that brings me to my next one, which is in the point of having fun, I don't want to have more than 2 DCs at any time in the game. I want it to be, you know what to roll, and if I ask you to roll, you roll it, and if you get it, you got it. But failure is a choice. And that seems like an odd thing. Like, what about in a game that you can't fail? No, they can always choose to fail because failure brings them towards success. So they may choose it's not worth the resource to succeed, but success is always an option. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's just say, for instance, that I think it was the generic role-playing GURPS, I think it is, that has the system where you get trained and your dice number goes up. I like that system. I like it a lot, so I'm taking it with the idea that you start on D4 in the skill, and the only number required to pass any check is 6. 6 is it. If you want to do anything, roll a 6, succeed. Well, the question is, if you start the game and you have just the basic level skill in, let's just say, I've been using lockpicking a lot, so let's use that again, lockpicking, right? It's a D4 because you're unskilled in it. You know what it is, you have the equipment, but you're unskilled. So you attempt to roll in it, and you need to roll a 6 to pass. That's impossible, right? Makes sense to me. It is impossible. So you go to roll, you roll a 4. Did you crit? Did you win? No, because it'd be kind of crazy to allow crits on a 4, because then it'd be like throw off the curve of why would you want to level up dice, right? So if you roll a 4, you don't get a reroll, you don't get to do anything else. That's it. That's as good as you can do. You are not trained in this. So what can you do? Well, you have 3 options when you roll the dice. You can accept the roll and be like, well, that is what it is. I was asked to roll for it, and I rolled 4. It's not worth it anymore. So I let that lie. You accept the roll. Option number 2, you push the roll. So let's say that your stat you're rolling for is a stat we're going to call nerve. Nerve is one of your 3 vitalities. Think of your three different little health bars that all combine into one health bar. So you have 3 nerve, 3 body, 3 nerve, 3 soul, right? Together that's 9. You have 9 hit points, right? Well, you can push the roll. You can be like, I'm gonna force it. So like I'm gonna push myself. I'm gonna drive harder, and I'm gonna get this. So you grit your teeth and you keep going under the pressure, under everything. Your nerve shaking. You could get caught at any moment. You're going to push it. So you now get to roll whatever dice you spent the nerve to roll again. So if it's a D4, you roll. You give up 1 nerve. If it's a D6, 2 nerve. D8, 3 nerve, and you probably see it goes on, but you can only go to the skill level that you are trained in. So if you're unskilled, you get to roll another D4. Well, there's a chance you roll a 1 and fail again, and then you gave up 1 hit point out of 9 to not pass. So you'll probably push again. But is it worth it at that point? Like, we have a fight beyond this door. We were trying to sneak in. I give up. I fail. And that's okay. You tried, you pushed, and you chose to fail because you'd rather have the resource for the fight. I'm not tricking my players into losing them like I do in D&D with traps and other things. I might do traps. I might do other things like that. But we have 3 hours to play tonight. Would you like to fail this roll? No, I'd rather spend my resources and risk it later. I'd rather do that. So you pass. The third option is to force it. So you've tried pushing it, like pushing yourself, but now you're forcing yourself to do it. So you don't take a hit point out of the vitality you're using. You're not using nerve. You're going to use instead body or soul, and you're going to push yourself beyond your limit to just add +1, but it's going to cost you 2 hit points from either one. So maybe you need to save your nerve and you'd rather just give up soul right now. So you give up 2 soul and boom, you've opened that door up. So you pushed and you forced in the same action. That's totally fine. But you lost 3 hit points essentially from doing that. And so how do hit points work in a base way in this game? I like the idea that you have 3 vitalities: body, nerve, and soul. They should cover most everything. I always thought it's weird they have an 18 constitution, and that results in all these other numbers to math your way down the road. I'd rather it be that nerve is my dex. That constitution is my body. That athletics is my body. That magic, otherworldly spark is my soul. So with that in mind, you would have these 3 vitalities, and when one hits 0, you don't go down. That's fine. When you take 3 damage, unless the weapon is some soul-sucking dagger, you pick which one to lose from. So you could knock them all down slowly across the board, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. You take 5 damage and you have 3 of each. You'd be like, I'll take 2 from body, 1 from nerve, and 2 from soul. And so now I've done it out where I've not hit 0 on any of them. But if any of them hit 0, then you've got a problem. If it's your body, you become weakened. If it's your nerve, you become vulnerable. If it's your soul, you become shaken. I don't even know what those terms mean yet. I just like the idea that you could pick. Maybe you're a backline archer, so you become vulnerable. Doesn't really matter to you because you're shooting boom, 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 all your little arrows. So the game is a constant tug and pull on your resource, and you don't want to tap out like you do in Magic. Is ideally the term that we'd use is you want to keep yourself kind of afloat. And I imagine some people can do medicine checks to fix your body. Magicians and magic people can probably fix your soul or and then maybe more psychiatric people can fix your nerve. Maybe if you do the cooking skill, you can help improve these sorts of things. But I like it more than the idea of I have an 18 in Constitution over here, and all that means is I get a +5. I would rather have just gotten to +5 somehow. Roll 2d6, take the average of them. That's your plus stat. I just think it gets weird. I'm just so used to D&D, so that doesn't bother me, but I think it's genuinely weird for people who play the game for the first time. And I'd rather you just say, here's 3 lanes, body, nerve, soul. All of your skill checks are underneath of these. You have skill checks. Right now you start with the game with 5 total, 1 for each category, and then a couple extra ones that you took in character creation. And I like that idea a lot. So that's my basic idea. I think that enemies in general are made up of different vitalities. I think your main big bads have all 3 vitalities, and you'll track them as such so that they can become shaken or vulnerable. And maybe you're attacking their soul with soul targeting weapons, or maybe you're attacking their flesh with just serrated weapons. So it goes straight to body, so you can't avoid becoming weakened over time. So you're all hammering in on that. I like that idea that you're focusing to try to do it. It's like the targeting I think players always want, where they're like, I aim for his head. It's like, well, of course you do, but then if I do that to you, I kill you in 1 hit. So I think that's my way of adding that I aim for the blank because I want him weak. I want him actually to deal less damage. No, I want to do more damage. No, I want to be able to scare him. So you can aim for the 3 different vitalities. But when you're dealing with any sort of like woodland creature, I think just a deer only has heart. It doesn't need nerve or soul. And no, it has those things technically in this metaphysical sense. But I think when you deal with a deer, most fauna, you're just dealing with heart. Fish and bugs, you're just dealing with nerve. And when you're dealing with a will-o-wisp and maybe a skeleton, you're dealing with soul. So easily you could take those, then you start to combine them together. What if we want nerve and soul together? Well, that's a more advanced enemy. That'd probably be something like a fae. What do you want heart and nerve together? You probably get a goblin. You know, combine them together, you get your one step up people. And so the fun of that is that when you get them to halfway through their health, they lose one, either their nerve or soul or one of those two, and gain that weakness just like the players do. So if they really like targeting one for some reason, they could start trying to do that where it's like, oh man, I can defeat any enemy who hits 0. Like if they're shaken, I deal double damage. So all I'm doing is getting out there and trying to scare the shit out of them. But it doesn't really work on a deer. Like they're just scared because they're a ball of like life trying to be alive. So that's my pitch for my dream D&D system. I'm currently working on it with some basic notes and using ChatGPT as my like bouncing board for ideas because sometimes I get confused. But the general idea is that no matter what happens, you need to roll a 6 to pass anything. I mentioned there's 2 DCs. The other one I'd call the quest DC. So there's this mundane one that stays the same through the whole game, and there's this quest one that changes depending on the grandioseness of the task you want to do. It can also go down if you choose to do something really stupid. So you want to do a peasant's task, you need to roll a 2 to pass. Anybody can do a peasant's task. I mean, should be. You just fail because you're clumsy or things happen, things go wrong, whatever. But you can always pass a peasant task thing by just giving up a little bit of nerve or pushing or forcing. So it wouldn't be hard. So you can just go do those, have some fun, gain some HP, do some little tasks. But I like that you're slowly growing and that 6 is the world's DC. If you want to do something that's not related to the quest, it's a 6. That way when you're a grand heroic champion, the locks didn't get harder to open. Like, why is it a 12 to do the innkeeper's door now when it was, you know, you're now level 30? Like, it doesn't make sense that the door should be as hard as it was. You're mastering things. So that DC stays constant because that's the mundane tasks. It's a little bit of drama, a little bit of spice. The more I'm a player and I want to roll. But if you're doing a quest DC, the failure's bigger. You get a bigger reward for failing. And the success is bigger. You're pushing forward in your quest. So you could set that DC at the beginning of the night, say, the quest you're doing tonight is still the Dragon's Quest, so we're going to remain on an 8 for the DC for this quest. So whenever you go to roll, you need to hit an 8. So probably don't do the things that you're only trained to a D4 in unless it's really important and you're going to force it. I think it's cool. Let me know what you think. Comments down below if you watched all this. I appreciate it. I don't know why. I hope you enjoy it. I don't put too much in the form of visuals into this, so I hope I enjoyed your second monitor while you did something that you enjoy. Thank you. Peace.